If you think the way I do, please go to your coffee table, go through all those junk emails or mails you have in the catalogs and find your ballot and get it in before Tuesday. If you don't think about the world the way I do, please be sure to get in your ballot by next Thursday. To talk to us about the ballot, Tim Hoover, editorial board, Denver Post, thank you for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
Haven't seen you in a while. You been okay?
I have been in hiding.
If I were on the editorial board of the Post, I'd be in hiding too.
Malta is usually where I.
Malta. Let's go over some of the endorsements of the Post. I understand that the Post is not you personally, but let's go through this. Let's do the big one first.
Sure.
What the hell are you people thinking endorsing a 27% tax increase that is supposed to go for gym class but has no guarantee? I'm talking about 66. What about 66 was something that you guys needed to take such a strong position on?
Well,
and with a rather odd editorial. You acknowledged some of the deficiencies in 66,
right,
but wanted to vote for it anyway.
Exactly. Let me just take one thing that you said, which is it's not a 27% tax increase. What you're doing is you're taking the lowest rate and the highest rate and taking the jump there between and calculating 27%. And that's just not the way it works practically. Your first $75,000 is taxed at
8%.
5%. Okay, so it would be an 8%, right?
That's an 8%.
Here's the thing, but let me tell you, the only way it's a 27% tax increase is if you make over $3 million.
How the hell do you figure that?
Because almost all of your income at that stage would have to be way over $75,000.
No, let's do this.
Okay.
And I hope we can agree on these simple numbers. Right now we have a flat tax rate, 4.63.
Right.
All right. And I think it's been very important that we've had this flat tax. I think it's one of the reasons that we've had an economy that over the last few decades has grown well because of that stability. This takes it everyone gets at least an 8% bump in their tax rate, from 4.63 up to 5%. That's 8%. It doesn't matter. And if your household income is over 75, anything over 75, it goes up to 5.9%. That's an increase from our current rate of 27.4%.
Yeah, but it assumes that the two numbers, there's an increase from 27%, but you won't be paying 27% more in taxes. You'd be paying more like 8. No, you won't, because it's not all taxed at that higher rate.
Yeah, your first bracket is going to be at 8. Your second bracket will be at 27.
It's misleading to say that someone's going to have a 27% tax increase.
You know what's misleading is that the proponents of this don't use the word tax increase. They say things like, big promises, small price. And this ain't a small price. This is $1 billion a year tax increase. There's 5 million of us roughly.
Right.
I mean, that comes out to about $200 per man, woman, and child. One way or another, we pay for this. Cost of services will go up, cost of products will go up. This is a huge tax increase. Will you agree with me? This is not a little
I will
price.
agree that it is a large tax increase. There's no question about that. As for its particular effect on products and so forth, I mean, that'd be difficult to prove or disprove, but it could. It's not going to
the business school at CU, the lead school, came out and talked about the prices. CSU's business school came out and said this could cost up to 11,000 jobs. Ernst & Young says that 95% of all businesses in Colorado run their taxes through personal income taxes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this is going to hit small businesses.
It will
very
affect
hard.
small businesses, yeah, because a lot of them file.
And that's most of the businesses.
File those individual. At those individual levels, that's right. It's not a small tax increase. The only thing I would add, though, is that if you're measuring our local and state tax burden in terms of dollars paid per $1,000 of income, which I personally think is the best measure of a tax burden, we'll go from 45 to 40th with this tax increase.
That's only on the state level. Let's take
state and local combined.
Let's take right now when it comes to taxes. I'll agree with you. Colorado has among the lower state taxes, but my wallet doesn't tell the difference between state, local, city, county.
State and local combined.
State and local combined by the Tax Foundation, we are number 13. We're around 13. On local taxes alone,
I think they're
even
in the Tax Foundation puts us in the 30s.
Not at all. Trust me, this one I know like the back of my hand.
I know you know the back of your hand.
I know the back of my hand.
And the front.
That's a good joke, but we won't tell it. Anyway, This is a huge tax increase.
Right.
We are paying a lot. Why is the Post endorsing, particularly after we've had trouble with the economy, we are still lagging unemployment, we just got hit with 100-year floods. I mean, I have to pay $10,000 just to fix my basement.
Right.
You know, this is, why did the Post endorse this? What is the thing
Sure,
there?
let me get to that. We don't agree on those particular rankings, but I'm going to forgive you for being wrong about that. Why we endorsed it was we believe that our schools are underfunded, and we also believe that the overall state budget will be eaten up by K-12 and health costs, Medicaid primarily, if nothing is done. And so after multiple tax cuts in the late 90s and early 2000s,
There were two.
There were three, actually. There were three, because the income tax was cut twice and the sales tax was cut once. So there were three. But after multiple cuts, tax cuts, and the fact that you just don't have those high-flying days that we once had in the 90s of huge...
Did you get an 8% increase in your salary last year?
Well, I don't want to brag, but you know...
Did you?
No. I'm
nice.
But all I'm getting at is we believe that these schools are underfunded. That this is it is time to raise them up, and that this is an appropriate way to do it.
Then let me counter with some, I know statistics
Sure.
are tough. The Department of Education here says that in the last decade, we are spending 10% more per child above inflation. That's where so when I hear about these cuts to education, my crocodile tears start rolling, because these are cuts to additions that they wanted. The fact of the matter is we are spending more money.
Now,
let me get
there
this
were
thought out.
actually net cuts. That's not true.
We are spending more money on education than we ever have. But what's more interesting is where we're spending it.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years, growth of student population has grown 19%. Right. Sadly, teachers have only grown at 16%. That's a problem. Administrators have grown at nearly 52%. You know, yes, there's a problem in the budget, the problem with Amendment 23. It doesn't take $1 billion tax increase, and amazingly, the state is sitting on a $1.1 billion surplus. You know, people are going to look at this tax increase and go, if they're looking at it, do we want to get rid of our flat tax rate? That is a whole different issue. Are we willing to give this money that feels good? Will you agree with me with these advertisements that say, bring back gym class, you know, bring back music class? Will you at least be honest and say, there's no guarantee this is going to go to a gym class. There's no guarantee it's going to go to a music class.
I don't know specifically that there are guarantees that it will go to a gym or a music class. I suspect that many school districts are likely to want to reinstate programs like that. The one thing I want to correct, though, is the notion that that it was just a decrease of an increase. Okay, that was true for a while. That was true for a while when they came up with that negative factor for Amendment 23, and they didn't fund at that higher level. But then eventually, now we're talking about net cuts in education.
Amendment 23 comes, then Post endorses it. We passed it. Ref C comes. Why? For the kids, we need to put it into education. We passed it. Raleigh-Heath's silly tax increase comes through, and if I recall, remind me, the Post endorses it.
Did not endorse it. Opposed it.
And now this one's coming. We have 5 years under this bill to pass a tax increase if we wanted to. This is flawed. There are no guarantees. And the amount of money, just because Michael Bloomberg thinks it's a great idea here in Colorado,
Sure.
and $4 million from the unions, which brings up the potential of money being backfilled to para,
right.
really pops up. I want to get to these other issues as well.
Let's do that.
AA is the pot tax.
The statewide pot tax, right.
This is the statewide, and localities can have their own. The legislature is asking for the full amount, which made for wonderful theater, because in the legislative session, the law says, the Constitution says you can go up to 10% on sales tax and 15% on excise tax, or the other way around. And it was the Republicans, anti-pot Republicans, saying, no, don't raise it that high. That's too high of a level.
I don't think it was only them, but there were some of them that said
But
that.
the legislature's asking for the maximum amount.
Right, right.
You guys want that?
We endorsed AA. We looked at what happened under the old medical marijuana regime, which was that it was so grossly underfunded that regulation was a joke, and that it was massively unfunded, and they couldn't even begin to do the job that they said they were going to do. So we didn't want that to happen.
25% tax to start off with. Come on, that's high. When you add that,
You're adding the excise tax. That's not the right way to do it. The excise tax isn't applied to the retail price.
You're going to pay for it. Again, my wallet doesn't know the difference.
It's not 25% though.
Right. So you've got the excise
Not
tax.
state.
You've got the sales tax on the state level. You already have the regular state and local taxes, which, let's just say that's 8%. And then you've got cities adding sometimes between 3 and 5, some are 10%.
Right.
You're talking about up to 45% tax
We have
increase.
opposed some of the local. We opposed actually Boulder's tax. We
My
thought that was too high.
worry is you're driving it underground. People don't buy a lot of pot from, like Coors beer. They don't go to the liquor store. If I'm getting it from a friend,
Right.
am I going to pay another 50%?
We thought
buy it someplace else?
thought about that, and we don't think that that's likely the case. Partly because the imprimatur of legitimacy that comes from going up to a lawful storefront, that's a completely different
I
thing.
live in Boulder. Stoners don't need that type of prestige. They just want their pot.
Well, I won't speak for Boulder liberals like yourself, but
Hey, I just said Boulder. Are they Boulder liberals?
but-
they're conservatives that smoke pot too.
but
Scotch is
the
much better.
all we're getting at is just saying that we believe that the level of taxation that they're proposing was essentially okay. The states. Now we insisted that Denver whittle it down some, and we opposed the Boulder one. We think that what they were proposing was too much.
And by the way, I don't have a problem with the tax increase for this. I really
Sure.
don't. I have a problem with this being so high. I think
Yeah.
there are a lot of people licking their chops for money that is not about enforcement. This is money that's going to go to schools. There's school money going into this. It'll pass. It doesn't matter.
right.
You didn't need to endorse it. It's going to pass.
I think that one will pass. I'm less sure of Amendment 66.
I don't think Amendment 66 is going to pass, even with the $10 million behind it. And for full disclosure, the Independence
Right.
Institute has been the lead opponent about this. We have put money into the campaign. We've done an educational effort. We're really the only game in town, and so it's our 24 grand against Hickenlooper's 10 million, and I still don't think it's going to pass. Go ahead.
Sure.
I want to get to some of the other
Yeah,
stuff.
of course.
I think the real education fight this year is in Douglas County. These reformers have changed the way education is done. They did it without a tax increase because the voters said no to a mill levy increase a few years ago. They now have a surplus. They have more educational choice. Kids are able to go to some different schools. They have working on pay for performance. They ended a monopoly of the unions. The Post really surprised me. You guys came out and said, keep the reformers in, even though the unions, the same people pushing for Amendment 66, are fighting like cats and dogs to get them out. Why?
We have favored the reforms in Douglas County. We think that they're working, and we favor school choice, innovation. We've actually favored vouchers before. When it comes to school innovation and school choice, the Post has really been there with pretty much all of the proposed reforms. So for us, it wasn't a surprise.
I feel on that you're on the side of the unions. They're put $4 million into this. They're the big winners out of 66, not the kids, the unions. But the unions have put potentially millions into this one Dougco race. It's the same pot of money. These are two different sides.
Yeah.
It seems consistent. Yes on 66, no on the reformers, or the other way around. But you're saying yes on the tax increase on 66, but keep these reformers that the union despises so very much.
We don't see it as being beholden to unions. The Amendment 66 will help fund a number of reforms that are likely to be implemented. we don't see them as inconsistent in the slightest.
Reforms. You show me real reforms. You show me tax credits.
It'll fund
you show me
charters.
pay for
That's all in Douglas County. They have
all
paid for
this,
reforms.
yeah, but
they
show
have
it
that
in
in
66.
Denver.
Show me that in 66. It ain't there. That's what's so amazing. You're not old enough, but the old "Where's the beef hamburger" ad is what I think of 66.
I am old enough, but I'm flattered that you think I'm not.
That's good. Let's talk a little bit about the fracking issues, because this one's interesting. I'm trying to remember if I got this right. Boulder, Lafayette, Broomfield, Fort Collins,
That's right.
all have local fracking bans on the ballot.
That's right.
I think they're all going to pass. You guys said don't do it.
Yeah, we flatly oppose local fracking bans.
Because you hate the environment?
We regularly try to pollute.
You chop down trees.
Yeah, we do. We do. We grow a few back. But, you know, we don't think that it's legal. We think that the Colorado law prohibits it. We think it's bad policy to have a patchwork of policies, of local policies, so that the industry never knows exactly how it can operate, that it makes things so difficult. And we're open to reasonable regulations that actually do protect life and
But you want
property.
to see it from the state side.
And we want to see it science-based.
Right.
Science-based, not hysteria, not anecdotal.
Only 30 seconds left. By the way, I can't believe we agree out of 2 out of 4 of these issues, the Post and me. So one of us is slipping, and I'm not too sure who.
Right.
All right, quick recap. Predictions, 66, up or down? Fast.
I'd have to say no.
That goes down. AA.
Pass.
Easy pass. Doug co-reformers.
I want to say all 4 of them are going to
think you
stay
will.
in.
Fracking.
Fracking, I think they might all
I
pass.
think they all pass.
Yeah.
Tim Hoover, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll check you afterwards. Thank you. Listen for me on KHOW Radio, and see you next week.